for Transitioning Humanitarians that Vicky and I do together. So Vicky cannot make it today, so that's why I'm the one who will be talking about continuing on the topic of money. You remember that last time we were talking about money in terms of judgments, in terms of taboo, and how to replicate it. And now I want to really touch upon the other topic in relation to money that I think many humanitarians struggle with, and that topic is attachments. Attachment to money, right? So, and we may not recognize many of the times, or even if we do recognize, we just feel like we can't do anything about it. And therefore we don't end up pursuing all the things that we want to pursue in life, right? So that's why I want to talk about attachment from the perspective of how do you recognize it, how do you see it, and also what can you do it, what can you do about it. So I have, I think, seen in so many of my clients as to how that attachment shows up in our conversations with ourselves in what we want. Basically, attachment is when we feel like we're the prisoners of something, right? Prisoners of that money, or prisoners of that, I don't know, a contract, or prisoners of that status, or prisoners of having money on a regular basis. And the reason why I'm using this such type of vocabulary of prisoners, I just feel like that represents so much of how that attachment can feel like. It feels like we can really do all the things, and intellectually maybe we understand that we could do it, but then we just tell ourselves that it's so hard, or we tell ourselves that it's impossible, or it's too like uncertain that we don't want to really pursue it, and therefore we want to just continue being where we are, that maybe we don't necessarily like, therefore we feel like we're trapped where we are. So that attachment feels constraining, feels limiting, feels like I wish I could do this, but then I can't. And therefore, the options that we feel like we have when we're attached is either we keep fearing about the uncertainty of pursuing what we want to, and keep like looking at all the different ways of how that may not work. And at the same time, we feel like we're trapped in where we are, where we don't want to be, and not satisfied with what we have already. So I wanted to describe a situation of one of my clients who's currently going through this, and he wanted to move from the headquarter position to the field position, and he wanted to change organizations, and he made the decision to do that. At the same time, he had a lot of fears about so many different things. He wanted to move to Ukraine, but then once he had agreed to that new contract, then he had lots of different like fears come up, right? Which is a very normal process of dealing with uncertainty. Basically, when we feel like there's so many things uncertain, then our fear brain wants to just protect us from all the different possibilities of what could go wrong, and how this might not be the right thing to do, and then we will have lots of different reasons why pursuing that basically is a wrong idea or the wrong thing. At the same time, being in the environment where he was, even though there are many things that he likes about it, but at the same time, he also knows that there is a desire that he has of wanting to do a humanitarian work in a particular context with some specific project management and interest in mind, at the same time, working on the strategic aspects of the work. So then he was like having lots of different fears, and one of them I think that's coming up very strong is that him not being able to have the money security that he needs in order to still his other needs that he wants to do. Right? And that's a very true to him, and that's why when we were working together on this topic specifically, actually yesterday, then I could see that what attachment to money, or rather, even not maybe money, but rather believing that money creates security, right? So we believe that many of us may have this mindset that money is what creates stability in our lives or what creates security, and without it, we feel insecure, right? Even though he's going to Ukraine and he will be receiving money, but still at the same time, it's not the same level as he's used to, right? So in that case, in that scenario, the attachment is so much to feeling like money is the one that creates my security. And if I don't have the same level that I'm having now, then I can't really pursue what I desire. Right. So that's why we discussed with him how he can. um, and then, by the way, the other thing he was saying then is that while the content of the work maybe is not necessarily what I want in the end, right? And then I was telling him that what if fear was so strong that it's just like this attachment is so strong that it's now creating lots of different sophisticated ways how not like going there would be a bad idea, and that's why fear is even there to kill his desire or make this job look not as enticing as it was before, and therefore him deciding not to go or him wanting not to go and changing the like the fear, the attachment, and just changing his decision, right? And I said that let's not give into the fear by give into the fear and just say that this job is not a good one and I shouldn't be going for that, right? So that's why then we were discussing with him how do you know when this is an attachment and when this is actually the genuine, valid concern, you need to have a look at it, right? And the way that I was explaining to him that attachment feels like when I feel attached and I like my fear brain wants me to give in to fear is it sounds like very urgent. It sounds like I have to solve it all, and if I don't, then I will be anxious or I will not be like having a peace within, right? So this is how attachment looks like. And if I'm genuinely concerned about something and I want to do something about it, then the feeling is like more grounded, more peaceful, and having a conversation where I feel like I can look at the pros and cons neutrally without making it sound like, oh my God, this is all going wrong, right? So that's why I think what's important in the attachment to money, for instance, or attachment to maybe not even money per se, but what money represents, basically, right? What money represents for you. Maybe money represents for you a stability or um, security. And if that is the case, then I really want you to consider this other option that is available to all of us that I think many of us have not been really trained to think about it is how when we think about attachment, genuinely trying to understand how the security is not coming from the money, the stability is not coming from the money, but coming from our thoughts about the money. How we think about money, how we think about our ability to make the money, and it comes from that. And whenever we tell ourselves that making money is hard, basing off the experience that we had or the experience of the past, and we keep believing that making money is hard, then we will continue just generating that attachment more. And therefore, we want to stay and stick to our jobs or stick to our current situation, even though maybe we don't like it, even though we don't see ourselves in the longer future in that job. But still, we just feel like if we don't have it, then we will be not being able to take care of ourselves, our families. We will be feeling shame. We'll be feeling failure and all of the things, and we don't want to feel that, and therefore we just want to stick to what we have. right? And the other way that we can really look at attachment, how to reduce attachment or remove it in attachment, is we need to have very strong feelings that drive us, like trust, like love. These could be some of the motivating feel like strong feelings that can create for us that freedom from attachment, right? So one of the examples that I think many humanitarians know, and I think I've used this example in the past as well, is where let's say that we get an assignment with a humanitarian organization in a very uncertain situation in a war zone, and we still decide to go there, even though we're scared, even though we are not sure how that's going to go, but still we want to go there because of the drive of our love for work or love for what we want to do, what we want to create in that environment, and therefore we start automatically generating that that trust, right? And because of that trust, because of that desire to do the work, we are so willing to go through all of those uncertainties, right? So that's why if you want to remove that attachment to the job, or sorry, to the money or to the security or to the stability, if you want to remove it and have instead take over that um, stability generating abilities with you. In other words, another way of maybe I can explain is that instead of delegating our responsibility of creating security to the money, to the job contract, to the external things, if we take that responsibility over, then we would need to feel that trust. We would need to feel that drive of that desire to work or the passion to work in that environment. All of these emotions help us remove or reduce the attachment, right? Reduce it to the point that it does not become an obstacle for us to go to do what we want to. So that's why if we have, on the one hand, the attachment, the fear of losing what we have, or fear of not being able to earn the money that we wanted if we leave, fear of uncertainty on the one hand, right? We have the fear of uncertainty basically that's stopping us from doing what we want to do or living the life we want to do. And on the other hand, we have the fear of feeling trapped, but with certainty, then the question becomes like, which one do we choose? Um, and what do we do with it? I think this is like the question that I get a lot is I have the desires to do all the things, but I fear of all the uncertainties. And I have the fear of feeling trapped here where I don't want to be really. But I know certainly that this will give me stability, right? So, of those two, which one to choose? This is the question that I think many of us have. And therefore, in that situation, I would say that before we even change anything externally in terms of external circumstances, I really suggest us to learn the skill of increasing our capacity to deal with uncertainty. This is, I think, what really it comes down to. How can we feel certain in the uncertainty? Or how can we, excuse me, create that stability really, right? And the best way how I know how to do that and how I have done it in my life and how I have helped my clients to do that is really growing that trust, growing that passion for what we want to do, how we want to create impact in the world, how we want to live our lives in this life, and like growing that passion and growing that trust more. And in order to do that, though, we need to really look at how much we can actually rely on our abilities of creating that, how much we can rely on our abilities on ourselves to create what we want to. And that may also include truly, genuinely recognizing what we have already created, what we have already achieved in life, and that can just fuel us to create even more, to create even better, rather than staying in that position that we feel like it's a comfortable position in terms of stability, but at the same time, we don't feel the comfort because we feel like we're not really living our passionate life, we're not really living our life the way we want to, and then we keep feeling like we're in trouble. So, my dears, that's why the reason I wanted to really come back to this attachment topic is I think I feel like as soon as we realize that we're attached to something, like externally, especially like money, like house, like contract, like status, certain things, if we are attached to it, then as soon as we have that, then we feel like we can't really leave, we can't really pursue what other things that we have, what other desires, and what other priorities we have because that thing will just we feel like that thing will be holding us. So that's why I really suggest for you to turn that attachment um, into trust, into passion, so that you can like start increasing your capacity to realize how much you're able to create things, how much you're in charge of creating what you want, how much you can do that without relying on those external things to give you the security and stability that you're wanting. Because the great thing about that ability of really trusting ourselves and our abilities and also our desires and our passions to do things at the same time, being with our families and at the same time having the financial freedom those are the skills I feel like you can use it no matter whether you decide to stay where you are and never change anything, because then you will remove the feeling of trapped, right? Because you don't feel like trapped anymore because you know that you are capable of creating and doing something somewhere else if you want to, but you're choosing not to do that and you're choosing to do that in that environment. So therefore, these skills will help you not have that attachment and instead have that freedom and turn that attachment into freedom to say that I can do what I want here in this environment, or I can also choose to do that somewhere else. So that's why I really wanted to advocate to you today to look at that. You don't need to be choosing between fear of uncertainty or fear of feeling trapped, but rather I really want you to have a look at how those both are really coming from that attachment feeling, attachment to stability, attachment to money, attachment to security. And as soon as we turn that attachment into freedom, by believing in ourselves and our abilities to create whatever the life we want to, then we become like I feel like at least for myself, I feel so much more freedom to then say, I am going to make this decision and this is how I'm going to pursue. Because I want my decisions to be based on what I desire, what I'm passionate about, at the same time wanting to be with my family and having the freedom, the financial and other freedom to do what I want to. I want I want my decisions to be based on those rather than based on, oh my God, I have to have this, otherwise I will feel like I'm a loser or I'm a failure or that I can't really survive. I don't want my decisions to be based on those attachments, right? And I really want to advocate you to do the same and to invest, uh, to grow your skills in those areas of how much you can turn that attachment into a freedom within you. Okay, my dears, I hope that this has been helpful for you to consider and look at your options of what is available to you, even if you feel like you are between two choices that you don't really want to take. And if you're having difficulty dealing with any of that, please let me know or Vicky, and we'd love to coach you around that topic. of money in general, or specifically money attachments, or feeling secure with or without money. So, have an amazing week, and I will be speaking to you, Biz Vicky, next week.